Welcome to Center Hice Productions. Please hit the likes and subscribe down below in your right hand corner. Muchly would appreciate that. Thank you to all my followers and subscribers. Muchly appreciate that as we've built a strong community here and a strong channel with integral properties to it. We stand by having integrity and not jumping all over just rumor land just for a story or clickbait, just to have a story or false hype and hope. We stick to factual information as it drops. And that's, to me, it's more important to have integral information and stand firm on that than it is to put out a bunch of BS. So please, if you could, hit the likes and subscribe. Leave your comment at below. Tell me your thoughts of what we're going to discuss today, as you'll see the title. My Center Heist projections of the future Habs on a lot of our prospects. Now, not all of them are in it, but there's the main core is there. There's going to be some that are left out, but we're addressing the main core of the bigger names that are closer to making it and project it. They're under the eyeball more. Let's put it that way. So please, if you come across the channel, please subscribe, hit the likes. Also, you'll notice on the front page, if you have summer renovations, decks needing to be repaired, built, projects like that, masonry work, roofing, you name it, please call Aura Contracting. Tell them Andrew sent you. And I know the gentleman, Glenn Thomas, great person, honest, and you get honest quality work at an affordable price. Just use the user code Andrew. Okay, let's get right down to it. I promise, excuse me, I have to reach down for my notepad. I promised a list of what I thought, a projection list of where I thought for these up and coming players for the Montreal Canadiens. Now, some people are going to love this. Other people are going to hate me for what I'm projecting. And hey, it's my opinion. You're entitled to leave your comment as long as it's respectful. We stand firm by that. At this channel, we like a respectful group here that can agree and disagree. But anyway, we're going to give you our views of what we see with our prospects coming up. Now, yes, I no longer claim, and nor should anyone. To me, Lane Hudson is now a Montreal Canadian and phenomenal. So he's not on this list because he is a Montreal Canadian and a huge, 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 huge star for the Montreal Canadiens in their future. So he's not on this list. We're talking about this year onward, which is going to be the year for Demidov. And I mean, I kind of got I kind of always find it where Demidov played the two games and a bit of playoff hockey. I guess he still has to be considered a prospect since he hasn't had a full season. There's no doubt. So anyway, we're going to give you what our thoughts. I categorize these as projected Habs in a column. Um, Players who have the capability of making the NHL but don't fit in to the Habs scenario, their system. Then we have those who are AHLers. And there's a lot more on this list that I just didn't get into. I wanted to cover the main guys here, guys that are ready to either crack the NHL or uh, just to see where they stand in their projection. Okay, of course, we're gonna start with Demidov. That's a shoe in. We all know us hands down. We know he's huge, huge, huge. Probably going to be a superstar in my eyes. Probably your next version of a Matt Naslin. So huge projection, definitely a future Hab, no doubt about it. In my mind, whether he has, how this season goes matters not because he's got to develop and adjust to the NHL. I'm hoping to see it would be nice to see a back-to-back Calder after Lane Hudson did it. So Demidov, this is a shoe, and this is the easiest one to look at. We know he's going to be a future Hab. He's definitely a part of the plans. So that's automatic a Hab. Okay, then we look at David Reinbacher. This one's complicated. I mean, I put him in the column as a projected Hab because there's so much hype in the Montreal Canadiens system on this kid. Um, and to have let Mayu go, there must be something they see in Reinbacher, his defensive capabilities, more complete game, I'm assuming, because we got enough. And it's probably because we have so many offensive talents on defense that we really got to start covering the defensive zone a bit. So I got David Reinbacher, yet it's, I always say, does it we still got to wait and see if it translates. I don't suspect, for me, I do not see Ryan Backer in the lineup, but he could shock us and make it this year because he's on the cusp. I think he needs at least another 30 or 40 games in Laval because of the injuries just to catch up. I think he's on the cusp. He's definitely, I do think he will make the Montreal Canadiens from the way he looks in short periods of time. He seems to adjust fairly quick even after injury. So that's a good omen for him. So I do project him to be a future, especially on the right side where it's the side we have more need. So I do suspect he will, and I do suspect he'll be a top four defenseman. So that's where I'm projecting David Reinbacher. Then we got Bogdan, and we all have a lot of respect for this kid, Bogdan Kanushkov. But I tailed them down a little bit because Montreal's so jammed on the defensive end. It's hard. This is a kid you'd like to see make it. He's got good leadership skills, but I have him kind of cross between making the Habs or making it in the NHL, being a part of a trade package. So that's where I see Bogdan, uh, or or Kanushkov. We'll go with Kanushkov, his last name. I like this kid's style, and again, I'm not sure. There's too many defensemen, and this is why I'm not totally sold that with so many defensemen, he's going to be able to be a part of the equation. He'd be a good choice for a seventh defenseman, no doubt about it, or the running of that. And then see, that's the problem. There's going to be a major battle for, that third, five, six, and seven spots. There's going to be a huge battle. This is going to be going on for a bit, and I could see him being in that battle. That's why I say I do believe he is Montreal to NHL caliber. But I just foresee, in my opinion, I think he's going to be another guy that will either stay in Russia and we just let walk, and which would be a shame. But I would, if he's not going to make Montreal, I'd use him in a trade package. I think he's got the capability. Although there's been some, the translation thing has been a little bit backed him up a little bit. Let's put it that way. Michael Hage, that's a shoe in. This is another guy who's I don't think he's going to be superstar like Demidov, but I think he's going to be a star. I think that's our future second line center, hands down. His work ethic, his skill level, he's bulking up, doing wonderful, in the U.S. College League. I think he's an absolute shoo-in, and he's going to take that role of what we're lacking right now. And it's a shame he's not ready right now, and we kind of need someone to fill the void until he gets here. I'd say keep your eye on him next year onward. It's going to be next year or the following year that he's maybe a full season with Laval, and then after he gets out of college hockey, and then to the Habs. But he's my books. This guy is a shoe in as your second line center, so he's a Hab. Then we go down to Fowler, a goaltender, and there's just two goaltenders I have. And we have Dobish up there already. I foresee a tandem of Fowler and Dobish. Now, in saying that, so I do have him down on the Montreal list. I didn't consider Dobish because he's already in Montreal. Okay, but I do see those two as being the future. Those are the two guys I picked as the future net minders. Now, I did. You can't put a one or a two on him because Fowler's got to translate to the NHL first. Looks good in the AHL. Let's see him with a full season in Laval. Then I think next year you will have the push for Montreal. So I did put him into Montreal because of all the experts, the Pierre Maguires who speak so, and Craig Button who speaks so highly of him, and he does look good in highlights that I've seen from the eye test, he looks good, but translation is the huge thing. My only knock is I don't like that he's a smaller goaltender, but he's got the toughness, the proper attitude. So I say he's a Montreal Canadian. This one's going to sting Montreal Canadiens. They're not going to like fans. Beck will not be a Montreal Canadian. He may make the Montreal Canadiens short term. I don't think he's going to be able to hold a spot. I don't think that he can outdo Jake Evans. And that's my personal opinion. His game and his opportunities has not translated to the NHL. Great AHL showing. I just personally, this is my opinion, and he's a good hockey player. Don't get me wrong. I do think he can make the NHL. I just do not. I'm sorry. If you can't, by now he's had a few opportunities, and I do think maybe this particular training camp will speak volumes, whether or not his opportunity in Montreal. It will. I think this is going to be kind of the final opportunity, and we're going to know. But he is not looking like. I'm sorry. I always thought he would be the next Jake Evans. Uh, I'm not seeing it anymore. I just, unless somebody gets injured and falls off the map totally, I just don't see it. I can't see it whatsoever. So I think Beck is NHL material. I have him in the column as he won't be a Montreal Canadian. He will be in a trade package into another NHL team, and that's at his ceiling. He could very well be an AHLer, but I do think he can make the NHL. Now I'm going to sting people again. Remember, this is my opinion. I don't think Waugh will be a Montreal Canadian either. I just think we have too much talent with those two guys. Yes, I think they have capabilities. I do think they're talented. I just think we have better hockey players in our system that are going to fit better. Simple as that. So Waugh, I think, is another one. He may make it this year where we're kind of in a transition mode for this season. I don't know if he's going to be able to stay. And he's got hard, stiff competition because I think Kapanen's going to outplay him. And I think Kapanen's going to outplay Beck. Personally, that's my opinion. So I think Waugh is another fellow. I think he's a little farther advanced. What I mean by that is I think he's had more opportunity than Beck. So I think Beck's got a little more of a time to buy. Where Waugh, I think this is it for sure. If he doesn't capture something in training camp, it's not a thing against his work ethic. I think it's his speed of his feet. And I just don't. I just think there's too many talented players. So I do foresee him uh, being in the NHL. I do think he's NHL material. I just think he will have to be in a trade package. Now, here we go again. Kapanen. I project him to make that final one of those final spots in the forward group. Fourth line or whatever. Um, Kapanen, I do. He made it to the Habs last year for a bit. I think he will be the guy that makes it. He's got a great work ethic, shows very good talent. I do see him as a Montreal Canadian. Does he stay in Montreal as the players progress that are behind him years to come? That's my only question with Kapanen. I think, yes, he's definitely going to make it for the short term. I think he'll be an answer for like 1 or 2 years. But as the players start coming in, I don't know if he's going to be able to outdo the Thorpes, the Jack Eyes, the what's his name, the big boy, Papa Paneskis, even Koivu and Zarowski. I don't think with the talent coming up, he's going to be able to hold the spot. That's just my opinion. So, yes, he becomes a Montreal Canadian, but he may very well, after a couple of years, be traded. Now, Sean Farrell, to me, gone. Automatic. He's not making Montreal. Too small because we've got so many small guys. Doesn't have enough to like body size and strength. We're just too small as it is. He is showing signs of being an NHLer, but I still am not totally sure if he's an NHLer or an AHLer. I think he gets traded. If he makes the NHL, he won't be in Montreal. Sam Harris, I have the same kind of feeling, except think he may be an NHLer, but he won't be in Montreal. Too much talent coming. So that's just my thought on that. These are going to be some shockers with some of these names. And Enstrom, he's a Montreal Canadian in my books. The talent this guy's showing, again, I think he gets to Montreal, whether it's this year or next year. That's the question. He's going to push somebody because this kid's got talent and he's got no back down. I like this kid all the way around, and he's really going to push for that third pairing spot or the seventh spot. And what a great thing! Can you imagine if we got left to a position where Jack Guy, let's just for an example, Jack Guy, Struble, and Enstrom were your guys like that you rotated in the bottom pairing. That would be a great rotation. But I do think Enstrom, I think he may be, he's definitely in my books better than, and I hate to say this, but Struble. He's, his talent, he's got way more talent than Struble. He's a beautiful skater, and he's just got to clean up his defensive game. But Struble's got those signs too, and Struble's strength is questionable. He's good positional, doesn't, for a guy that's supposed to be physical, it's just not consistent. And his size makes it, he's average sized. I think Enstrom's got more to offer than Struble. So I do think he could beat out Struble. And I think you better hold on to Jackeye. He's going to give Jackeye competition too. But I think you better hold on to Jackeye because we need that size on the back end. That's my opinion. So Enstrom, foresee him being a Montreal Canadian. LJ Mooney, this is a good story because, truthfully, we're going to lose Brendan Gallagher by the time Mooney gets there. So that's doable. Now, here's my point. I'm on the same page as Pierre Maguire in the sense that I don't want to see any more than two small Montreal Canadians. And I think you already got that with Caulfield and Lane Hudson. So if we're going to have one more, that to me, you have to move out Alex Newhook. That's just my bottom dollar. You cannot keep um, Caulfield, who is a shoe-in, absolutely. Newhook, who's been an underachiever, not impressed with overall. We lost on that trade, in my opinion. I've said that many times. And I think this LJ Mooney has the work ethic that and the grit. He's showing signs. He doesn't back down. So I really do like this kid, even though he's a Smurf. His talents he possesses. He may be that type that has the will of a Brendan Gallagher to will himself. So maybe, I would not have a problem if you got rid of Alex Newhook and LJ Moody was the replacement down the road. I wouldn't have a problem with that if he shows what he's showing so far. So I think this is a kid to watch. It's going to be translation to the NHL. I love this kid. I like his attitude and I like his work ethic and I love his talent. So he is the only small player you will see me in the prospects say this guy's got a chance, just from what I've seen from him and his attitude and his grit. So there's LJ Mooney. I say he's either a Montreal Canadian or an NHLer, one or the other. Then I went to another goaltender, Radkov, and I didn't go to the much more of the goaltenders. This was kind of the last guy I think I touched on, and I think he's across. There's so much goaltenders take so long that I think I just think for me, Dobish and Fowler are the guys. Yet Fowler has to translate to the NHL, but if he doesn't, this is the type of guy who's got size who could end up being like the other guy with Dobish. But I do think Fowler has. I'm hoping I just don't like all the hype because they did that hype with Primo. So that's where I worry with Fowler. But I'm going to trust the guys like Pierre Maguire and Craig Button that they believe he has that. He's different. Well, I'll give them that. So Radkoff, to me, is a good insurance policy if Fowler doesn't translate. And I think he's either an NHLer or an AHLer. or he stays in Russia. I kind of still say he'll get to the NHL, is what I think, my opinion. Then we look at Handel. I say he projects as an NHLer or an AHLer. Question mark is on that. Jared Davison has the same question mark. He won't. These two won't be Handel and Davison won't be Montreal Canadiens. Question is, can they play in the AHL or the NHL? That's still to be seen. Luke Tuck, who I thought was going to be a shoe-in for Montreal, I no longer think that. I think he's a question mark for Montreal or the NHL. I do think a lot of people think he's even worse than he's an AHLer. We're going to see. He's definitely a big question mark. He slid in my book a little too. So that's why I kind of have him in the position of he should be able to make the NHL. Maybe he doesn't fit in Montreal because we have such good big prospects coming. But I just left him in that category in between Montreal and the NHL pack, whether he's a Hab or an NHL trade bait, basically. Then we've got Pickford. I think this is an NHL player myself. Then we go down to Thorpe. This is my guy. He's kind of like what I projected a few years back, about 2 years to 3 years. 2 years before Heineman made it, I projected Heineman was going to be a good play, a good addition to Montreal, like a really good NHLer. And I think Thorpe is got even more than Heineman. I love this kid. I think he's got the only thing I think he has to work on is his skating a little bit. Other than that, he's got everything else. He's got the skill set. He's got the grit. He'll drop the gloves and he can do it. He's got the whole game. This kid, and he plays pretty good two-way hockey. I love this kid. He's to me absolute Montreal Canadian. He's going to be a part of the checking line. I think he's going to be the pusher of the checking line. He's going to run it. I'm convinced 100%. Strong personality, great leader. This is a great kid. So Thorpe, Hab for sure. Protz is my question mark, and I love this kid. Again, because Montreal's so stacked, I do think he'll put a push for that position. Um, can he, again, can it translate to the NHL? I do think he'll be an NHLer. So I think he's in the middle there. I kind of lean towards, it's hard to say because it's going to be between Jackeye, Struble, Enstrom, and Protz probably, because Reinbacher should be a shoe-in. So that's what I see for their future. So Protz, I got him as a question mark, and he's either a Hab, pushes one of those other guys out, or he gets into the trade bait group. Roar, to me, I know how good he is, but he's NHL material at best, I think. He's not going to, there's too much talent for the money. Maybe he jumps in like Kapanen for a short stint. That's about it. He's definitely looks like NHL material, though. So again, jumps into that package. I think Florian Jacki, the book's still out. However, I do think he's a future Montreal Canadian. Worst case scenario, I think he'd be an NHLer, but I think he's part of Montreal's fourth line or the checking line. Papanakis is another one, big boy, great center, great big size, plays a good defensive game. He's a Montreal Canadian in my eyes. Koivu's a pleasant surprise, and I have him down as a Montreal Canadian or an NHLer. This is where things start getting complicated, and if hit the sun, he's really just shocked me, and I love that he's surprising me because what a great story this is. That I don't think we thought that he'd be in the category. He's pushing for a spot, and to me, I think he's going to prove the way he's played in that World Tournament. He's going to either be with the Montreal Canadiens or an NHLer. It's just going to be complicated. And it may be a case of it comes down to a battle between him and LJ Mooney. Because you can't, although he's actually showing to have not too bad a size now. He's starting to grow a little bit. So again, pleasant surprise. I see him as a Montreal Canadian to an NHLer. Zarowski, this Russian kid that they just picked up in the first pick in the second round after they had traded off their first two picks. This guy to me is a shoe-in, and I see him being a shoe-in for the second line. I think he's that talented. He's just going to be a couple years away. He has to bulk up. but I do think he's going to end up being on the opposite wing of, well, we say Demidov now. That could change, and that could be Slav and Demidov on the first line. We don't know how that's going to pan out in a couple of years' time. But either way, I think he's going to be a winger on the second line with Hage. I absolutely see that all the way. So I have him down as a Montreal Canadian. Middlestat is a great story as well. Luke Middlestat, I just think there's no room in Montreal. Sorry to say again, he could be a captain type that suits up for a short stint. I don't see him in the overall plans of Montreal because it's just too many talented players in that future prospects that they've drafted. So I see him as being trade bait as well as Roar that I had mentioned. Um, that he should be able to be an NHLer. Then we come down to the big old story, Philip Machar, who is starting to look like a wasted draft pick. But how do you know these things when hindsight is great? Philip Machar to me is not an NHLer. He's going to be a bust. And I love this kid. He was showing good signs 2 years ago. He was showing good signs. Since he's been joined the AHL, it just seems like he's going backwards. I don't know if he has the work ethic or the IQ for the NHL. I think he's either a permanent AHLer or he goes overseas and plays over there in the European Hockey League. That's where I see Machar. I think he's the guy that's a pretty big bust. And like I said, some people are going to want to shoot me with the Farrell, Beck, Waugh projections. I don't see them as Montreal Canadiens. Beck probably out of that group, and Waugh, they might have a chance to be there for a short stint. I don't think it's going to be enough, and there's going to be guys that push them out. Sorry to say that. That's how I see it. They could be. I think they're NHL material, but a lot of people are going to flip out on that. Got to look at the talent that's coming. Not everybody can be a Montreal Canadian. Sorry. So that's my group. And like I say, as far as what I say, and I'm just going to run over this really quickly. Future Montreal Canadiens, Demidov, Reinbacher, Hage, Fowler, Kapanen for a short stint. Just not sure if it goes on beyond. It's going to be up to him. Enstrom. Again, Mooney is going to be an interesting one to watch. Not really sure if Montreal or NHL. Thorpe, Protz, probable, is possibility. Jacki, Pumpanekis, Koivu, Zarowski. Those are my guys that are on who I have a lot of confidence in. And the rest of them, they're either NHLers or AHLers. And onward, we just can't keep them all. And again, like I said, if a little guy makes it, like LJ Moody, you're going to have to move out a guy who's been a disappointment like Newhook because you can't have too many small guys. Simple as that. So thank you for watching. You've seen it here at Center Hice Productions. And please hit the likes and subscribe. Tell me your opinion on what you think. And I know this is going to be a shocker. I'll take a sting or two from some people, but you really have to look. There's too much talent there, and there's only so many guys that can make it. So thank you for watching. We'll catch you. And the hockey season being close now, we're like a couple of weeks away now before training camp starts. So this is getting interesting. The steadiness is going to start coming now. Thanks for watching. Tell me your opinion. Please don't leave without hitting subscribe and likes, as we've built a very high quality community here that respects one another. Thank you for watching. You've seen it here. Puck drops first at Center Ice Productions. God bless.